DepEd TV. It's a brand new day, a brand new chance to learn. I am Ma'am Derry, and I am very excited to bring you today's lesson. So set your mind, ready your heart, and brace yourselves. We explore the world of oral communication. For this episode, we will talk about the barriers to communication. What are the different barriers to communication? And how do these barriers cause communication breakdown? Let's figure them out all together. But before we begin, let's first have a recap. Previously, our lesson was about the models of communication. Let's recall what they are all about through answering this activity. You are seeing a chart with 3 columns. Each column is labeled with the 3 models of communication: linear, interactive, and transactional. Copy this chart in your notebook. Are you done? Now, you are to put these phrases or statements in the correct column. This may be found on page 28 of your self-learning module. Ready? Let's begin.
These are the phrases and statements.
Letter A. Scrum model of communication. Letter B. Shannon-Weaver model of communication. Letter C. A two-way communication process where feedback is given after a message is sent. Letter D. Shows a circular process between the sender and receiver. Letter E. Barriers affect the smooth flow of communication. Letter F. A one-way communication process. Letter G. Having a job interview. Letter H. Reciting a poem in front of a class. Letter I.
Presiding over an important meeting.
Letter J. Focusing on the message sent. Let's check. For column A, under linear model, we have letter B. Shannon-Weaver model of communication. Letter F. A one-way communication process. Letter H. Reciting a poem in class. And letter J. Focusing on message sent. Clearly, no feedback is required in all of these concepts. For column B, under interactive model, we have letter A. Scrum model of communication. Letter C. A two-way communication process where feedback is given after a message is sent. And letter G. Having a job interview. As we can see, these concepts show us that there are 2 people interacting. And for column C, under transactional model, we have letter D. Shows a circular process between the sender and the receiver. Letter E. Barriers affect the smooth flow of communication. And letter I.
Presiding over an important meeting.
These concepts display an active participation of people in a communication situation. Were you able to get all the answers? That's terrific! Now, are you ready for our next lesson? Let's get the ball rolling. Let's start with watching this video.
What?
Do you remember the meaning of communication? Was communication exemplified in that video? I don't think so. What do you think caused the communication breakdown in that situation? Absolutely. They can't understand each other's languages. This is one of the barriers that we must avoid when communicating with others. You might be wondering, are there more barriers like this that cause communication breakdowns? You bet there are. Let's discuss the 4 categories of communication barriers. It is very important that we recognize these barriers so we can avoid communication breakdowns. Shall we? In communication, we have what we call physical barriers. These are the natural or environmental conditions that act as barriers in communication whenever we are sending our messages. People talk too loud. The noise from the construction site is too loud. The karaoke is playing so loud. Why do I keep hearing dripping horns? Geez, because of these barriers, you probably had difficulties listening to what I was saying. Were you able to hear and understand what I said? I bet you didn't. This is why physical barriers cause communication breakdowns. Now take a look at this. What do you think is the barrier in the given situation? Yes, good eye. The girl clearly is shy. Because of that, she is talking too low and she can keep eye contact. This is an example of a psychological barrier. They are mental barriers that refer to social and personal issues of a speaker towards communicating with others. This may be due to trauma, shyness, lack of confidence, depression, anxiety, or stage fright. These strong emotions hinder an individual to effectively communicate with others. Another barrier to communication that may cause communication breakdown are cultural barriers. These are communication problems encountered by people regarding their own personal values, beliefs, and traditions which are in conflict with others. They may have different races, religion, age, or gender. But just as their reminder, what is true to you may not be true to me or to them. Due to that, it may negatively affect the way they communicate and relate to one another. Lastly, we have linguistic barriers. This pertains to conflicts in language and word meanings. Words and delivery of statements have different meanings, especially in different places. Hence, they may cause confusion and misunderstanding among communicators. Differences in language are linguistic barriers. Kaman ça va? How are you? Kumusta ka? Ogenki desu ka? Apa kabar? All of which mean one thing. Yet, if we don't know these languages, we will not be able to understand and respond correctly. Other factors that we should also take in consideration for linguistic barrier are accent and dialect, use of jargon and slang, and speech defects or language impairment. Physical, psychological, cultural, and linguistic are 4 categories of communication barriers. However, Werther in 1991 gave a similar idea of barrier when he classified noise into 3 kinds: external, internal, and semantic noise. External noises are the sight, sound, and other stimuli that draw people's attention away from the intended meaning. Like this. Basically, external noises are physical barriers. Next, we have internal noises. These are thoughts and feelings that interfere with meaning. Like this. Internal noises, on the other hand, are psychological and cultural barriers. Then, there's semantic noises. These are what we call double meanings. The concept of semantic noise is that a word, phrase, or statement may have another meaning in the mind of the receiver. This may be due to incorrect grammar,
Use of jargon.
or use of idiomatic expressions. This barrier may cause misunderstanding between and among communicators, much like linguistic barriers. And there we have it. Those are the different barriers to communication that cause communication breakdowns. Now it's time for an activity. You may open your self-learning module on page 31 as we answer Activity 1 and what's more. You will identify the kind of communication barrier exemplified by each description. Before we start, let's recall the 4 different barriers to communication. We have physical, psychological, cultural, and linguistic barriers. Are you ready? Let's begin. Number 1. Lack of confidence. Number 2. Connotative and denotative meaning. Number 3. Loud party. Number 4. Different phrases. Number 5. Poor lighting. Number 6. Lack of interest and attention. Number 7. Different views and opinions. Number 8. Using idiomatic expressions. Number 9. Information overload. And number 10. Feeling frustrated. Are you done? If so, let's answer each item one by one. Number 1. Lack of confidence. This is a psychological barrier. This is caused by a person's fear of committing mistakes, rooting from one's emotions. Number 2. Connotative and denotative meaning. This is a linguistic barrier. Connotation and denotation should be used in accordance to the context of a statement. If not used correctly, the meaning of a statement might be interpreted differently. Number 3. Loud party. This is a physical barrier. This is an environmental condition that produces noise which may disrupt the successful flow of communication process. Number 4. Different races.
This is a cultural barrier. Different races have different beliefs and traditions, which may cause misunderstanding among communicators, thus leading to a communication breakdown.
Number 5. Poor lighting. This is a physical barrier. Poor lighting as an environmental condition may cause communication breakdown due to the lack of the communicator's ability to see one's gesture and facial expression. Number 6. Lack of interest and attention. This is a psychological barrier. If the receiver loses interest and attention, the decoding process might not be achieved successfully, thus causing the communication process to fail. Number 7. Different views and opinions. This is a cultural barrier. If the communicators do not share a mutual view and opinion, the tendency is that they might push their own ideas and fail to listen and understand others who think otherwise. Number 8. Using idiomatic expressions. This is a linguistic barrier. The use of idiomatic expressions may cause communication breakdown, for it is not certain that the receivers are familiar with the idioms to be used. Number 9. Information overload.
This is a psychological barrier. Interest and attention are based on a person's mental preference.
And number 10. Feeling frustrated. This is a psychological barrier. Frustration is a strong emotion that may affect a person's patience in listening and understanding others. Were you able to get all the answers? Wonderful! Let's have another activity. Open your self-learning module to page 32 and you will find Activity 2. There are 5 situations provided. You will explain why there is a communication breakdown on the given situations. Are you ready? Let's start. Number 1. Jay and Michelle started talking about their plans on Christmas vacation when their classmate, Moy, interrupted them. Number 2. Mama, I will buy this cake for you. I am very sure that you will like its taste. It's from our favorite cake store. Number 3. You spent the night thinking and analyzing why a student from another class talked to you on your way home. Number 4. Livy encounters a participant who is very eager to share with others her views and opinions. She does this without asking permission.
Livy showed disrespect to the people she is talking to by speaking without any permission from the conversation leader.
And number 5. In some Asian countries, direct eye contact is considered disrespectful and rude. In others, it's a must.
Not knowing these principles may cause communication breakdown among communicators, as some gestures or actions may be deemed inappropriate or disrespectful in others' culture.
Are you done? Let's check. Your answers for this activity may vary. However, it may be answered this way. Number 1. Jay and Michelle started talking about their plans on Christmas vacation when their classmate, Moy, interrupted them. Communication breakdown occurred in this situation when Moy interrupted an ongoing conversation of Jay and Michelle. This is an example of a physical barrier. Number 2. Mama, I will buy this cake for you. I am very sure that you will like its taste. It's from our favorite cake store. Selective perception may cause communication breakdown. We cannot assume that the people we are talking to like what we like. We need to ask them. Again, just a daily reminder, what is true to you may not be true to me or to them. This is an example of a cultural barrier. Number 3. You spent the night thinking and analyzing why a student from another class talked to you on your way home. Overthinking can cause communication breakdown. You may get the wrong meaning and torture yourself into thinking about all the what-ifs when the student from the other class simply wanted to talk to someone. This is an example of a psychological barrier. Number 4. Livy encounters a participant who is very eager to share with others her views and opinions. She does this without asking her permission. Communication breakdown exists when someone is insensitive towards the other communicators. Livy showed disrespect to the people she is talking to. And the last number 5. In some Asian countries, direct eye contact is considered disrespectful and rude. In others, it's a must. Not knowing these principles may cause communication breakdown among communicators. Were you able to explain your own answers? Excellent job! Students of the Philippines, we are finally done discussing the different barriers to communication and how they cause communication breakdown. Now, before we end this episode, I will give you an assignment.
Identify a communication barrier that you encounter in your daily interactions and write down 3 ways to avoid the barrier.
Do post on your Facebook using the hashtag #DerryMinder so I can easily see your answers. The best answer will be featured on DepEd Philippines Facebook page. Make sure your post is in public. On our next episode, we will talk about the strategies to avoid communication breakdowns. Once again, this is Ma'am Derry, bringing you lessons on communication and leaving you with a Derry reminder. Don't just speak with your mind, speak with your heart. Ciao!